My name is Anna Muley. I'm the Executive Director of Slow Food USA. Slow Food is a global grassroots network of individuals and communities dedicated to good, clean, and fair food for all. And here in the US, we have about 115 chapters across the country and about 5,000 members. So we are very excited to host this first session in our three-part World of Pasta series. We'll start our series today with an introduction to this delightfully complex food. Next Thursday, we'll host 4 chefs and 1 pasta chef, Paceri. Chefs Elizabeth Faulkner, Rocco DiSpirito, and Caroline Glover will show how many different ways you can interpret Paceri, and Fabrizio Ficini will be our host. Then our last session on May 21st is going to be really fun. It's called The Soul of Macaroni and Cheese, and it showcases the delicious influence of Black chefs on this classic American dish. And Chef Eduardo Jordan will cook and chat with Adrian Miller. So today's program is Pasta 101. We have 2 people whose families have been pasta makers and pasta lovers for generations. Giuseppe Di Martino is a food lover and tireless and passionate traveler. He represents the 3rd generation of the Di Martino family, who has been making high quality PGI Gragnano pasta since 1912. As a pasta maker and enthusiastic promoter of made in Italy excellences worldwide, Giuseppe is the charismatic president of Pastificio Di Martino. So welcome, Giuseppe.
Thank you very much. Welcome to everybody.
Then we also have Nadia Caterina Munno, aka the Pasta Queen, who is a social media sensation. And if you're on TikTok or Instagram, you should definitely follow her. Her family, known in Rome as the Macaronis, have been making pasta and wine in their own factory since the early 19th century. Now, before we jump in, I just want to thank Pastificio Di Martino. I have a bag of their pasta right here. They're the sponsor of this event series. Since 1912, this company has brought its 100% Italian high quality pasta worldwide. Di Martino pasta has been made for 3 generations by the successful encounter of selected 100% Italian durum wheat semolina with the purest local spring water. The bronze dye extrusion and the slow drying process at low temperature help make it fall under PGI Gragnano pasta mark. The result is a tasty, healthy, and highly digestible product, which perfectly holds sauces and returns the fragrant aroma of fresh wheat. And we're gonna hear all about that pasta today. And I'll turn it over to you, Giuseppe and Nadia.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Anna. Good evening. Thank you, everybody. I think, Nadia, you go.
Yes, well, first of all, I'm honored that you're having me today. And I feel so excited to be working to start this collaboration with Slow Food International and Di Martino. Me and Giuseppe have become great friends. Our families are from the same region of Campania. So I feel like my heart is in the south of Italy, even though I'm currently residing in Florida, and that's where I hold all my events and my social media channels, and all my work is out of my home here in Florida. I feel I've created a little bit of an Italian island for myself here, but having this connection, for example, with Pastificio Di Martino, for me is like the best, because it makes me feel like every day I'm home. And that's why I love cooking, and I love, my legacy, spreading my legacy for the love of pasta. So what I wanted to go over with you is something that I've noticed with the people that have been following me across my platforms. I have an average, I think, of 2.5 million followers across my different platforms. And one of the things that I love to cook the most, so I think 97% of my channel is pasta. And some of the things that my followers have inquired about and didn't even know about are the basics of pasta, and how do you actually make a simple pasta dish with a few tips. Okay, we're talking about very, very basic. We're talking about why would you salt the pasta water before putting the pasta in the water and not after. You know, I've noticed it that there was a lot of my followers who actually didn't know that you should salt the pasta water before tossing the pasta in the water to cook. And that's one of the biggest thing actually that makes, to me, it spreads the perfect taste across the pasta. And then, you know, there is a couple of things that I found were extremely popular as a pasta basic with my followers on my channel is cooking pasta al dente and not letting it go too mushy. Why? What does it do? Is it easier to digest? Is it does it taste better? Does it mix with the sauce in a different way? And yes are the answers to all of these questions, because pasta al dente, you can tell it's al dente because when you crunch into it, it's got a little bit of a bite back. So if you were to cut it in a half or cut a little slice of it, you could see like a little white faint line inside the pasta. And that's way easier to digest. A lot of my followers were like surprised. They were like, what, really? I thought that the more you cook it, the easier it is to digest. Well, you know, it's all about enzymes and all of that. I'm sure that Pepe is gonna go into that because he's the pasta master of that kind of stuff. But and you know, one thing, there was an absolute revelation that went viral everywhere is the knowledge and the usage of pasta water. So what is pasta water? I've been asked maybe 100,000 times, when you say pasta water, what do you mean, Nadia? I mean the pasta that you cook, so the water that you cook the pasta in, when you're nearing the end of your cooking, that you can actually tell that pasta water, it's a little bit, you know, it's not fully transparent. It's got a little bit of color, a little bit of cloud, and those starches that have been released can be used in your sauces to mix with the pasta al dente for the last couple of minutes of cooking directly into the saucepan. This is another very important point that the followers always ask, like, Nadia, why don't you put the sauce on top of the pasta? It's a grave mistake. You're supposed to toss the pasta in the sauce with a little bit of pasta water, because this all together with the starches helps bind the sauce to the pasta shape that you're using. And it's interesting because, you know, about pasta shapes, me and Giuseppe are going to be talking about it, because there's also like what best pasta shapes to go with what sauce and why. And that's a whole lot, you know, hundreds of thousands of questions that have been asked, and why do you use this pasta for this sauce, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, these are the few basics that I use, that I've taught a lot of my followers, including, and not the least important, but including the usage of your favorite cheese at the end to decorate your pasta dish. You know, my favorite two are Parmigiano and Pecorino. And, you know, why do you use, you know, the cheese right at the end? And it's our tradition. This is how we follow the full step, you know? And you know, one thing that I think got me so popular across my channel is because I really love traditional pasta dishes. And I was very adamant about keeping the integrity of the Italian food. And that's why when I met Giuseppe, I fell in love instantly, because I feel that we understand each other. We have the same values, we have the same traditional values, we have the same principles. And I feel that being on this slow food platform is exactly what I wanted and what I felt is the right thing to do, because a lot of people don't know, but actually cooking Italian food is faster than you think. You can make an amazing, delicious meal in 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes top, we're talking about award-winning recipes. I mean, I'm sure that Pepe can you know, attest to this. The greatest dishes are the simplest dishes, and the ingredients are, you know, can be counted on you know, the palm of one hand. And it's so crazy how a lot of the followers that I have had this misconception that Italian food is hard to cook, it's difficult, it can be long. And a lot of the people that actually have followed me and love me because they think they've discovered a way of cooking so fast and to make their family happy in a really quick way, you know. You know, there was a big controversy recently on my channel because I was asked to make an Alfredo sauce, and people complicated a lot. In Rome, we call it pasta burro parmigiano, pasta, butter, and cheese. And then, you know, it was created in the Alfredo restaurant by Alfredo, you know, 100 or so years ago. And the people complicated a lot, but it's 2 ingredients, and it's the most delicious thing. Always pasta, water, it's very important. But yeah, so what I wanted to say is cooking is simple. It is my mission in life to bring the simplicity to all of you and to all of my followers, and to show how easy it is to make a delicious meal in literally under 20 minutes. And that's really pretty much what I wanted to go over right now before I turn myself to listen to the wonderful words of Giuseppe. Yeah, so that's it for now. I mean, that's all I wanted to say for this little segment of mine. And I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions, and I'm gonna be looking forward to answering them all at the end of this webinar.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. And I've been introduced by Anna, and I'm the Giuseppe Di Martino. I'm the CEO of the Pasta Di Martino group that dates back 1912. And there is, let's say, that makes pasta in the south of Italy, which is the same region where Nadia is coming from. That's why we get along, especially because we share an identity and a history and the tradition and the culture of food. Pasta is the center of our culture, of our diet, of our everyday living. And so it was even more for the generation before us. Gragnano is a special place for pasta because it's the only Italian pasta that is protected geographic indication, so that is whose origin are certified by the European Commission, because it is a place where especially pasta has been made for over 500 years. The reasons are quite common and known. One is the water that we use to make pasta, which is coming from the mountains around the town of Gragnano, which is they're unique, and the water is perfect to do a mix. The mountains around Gragnano are covered by the eruptions of Vesuvius over the last hundreds of thousands of years. So that kind of mix of minerals is perfect for the water that comes from the mountain to do the mixing of water. The same is the air which comes from the sea, which is only 3 miles away from the town of Gragnano. So when you dry pasta, the air that comes from the sea is bringing humidity, and the pasta is dried in a very slow and natural way, like it used to be in the last century, being dried in the street and not inside. But at the time there were no cars, and there was much less traffic, and it was much easier to do. Now it's impossible. To identify the Gragnano pasta, you see that there is a PGI logo on every bag of Gragnano pasta, not only ours, and it's this blue and yellow logo that says protected geographic indication. This is same is for any specialty or traditional Italian food or European food for which it's needed a protection in order to make sure that consumers know exactly what they're buying when they are looking for that particular product. Pasta di Gragnano, it's bronze dye, which means the surface of pasta is very rough to attract sauce better, but also to expand on your tongue and your palate in a way that the contact surface of pasta increases. And that's the traditional way of doing. While since 1970s, 1980, the development of Teflon dyes, that are plastic dyes, made the production much faster and easier, but also the pasta is much smoother and a little bit more resistant to attraction of sauce. So that's why the Gragnano pasta is one of the most traditional way of making pasta, and it's extruded through bronze die. The other main thing about the Gragnano pasta is that it contains very high levels of protein. Because the best quality durum wheat coming from Italy, the tradition has been grown and has been harvested since 5, 6, 7,000 years ago. It's traditionally very high in protein because it comes from dry area where there is very little rain during spring and summer. So the wheat gets drier and drier, and so the level of protein goes up and up and up. And because of the soil nature as well. And this protein, it's actually what gives a natural firmness to the bite during the cooking, because Gragnano pasta contains a minimum of 13% protein. The other pasta legally in Italy are produced at 10.5% protein. Di Martino pasta, what we produce, it's actually above 14%. What it seems only 3-4%, it's instead a lot, because it's 40% more protein than your normal kind of pasta. That protein, it's like a net that holds together the starch and allows the pasta to resist cooking, but also resist the stirring in a pan, and to keep the shape to remain at the same shape that it was given in the town of Gragnano. And so that Nadia and any other pasta lover and cook may enjoy the possibility of changing shapes and changing recipes, but without being a very boring product. And it's instead very interesting because it's very crunchy. The protein makes your mouthfeel and your feeling in your mouth very, very strong. So al dente tastes naturally. So you don't have to dry at high temperature. By drying at low temperature, what you do, you preserve the scent of wheat, the natural scent of wheat. You preserve the taste of wheat, and also you preserve the elasticity of the protein, that is gluten, so it doesn't get jellified. By not jellifying the protein, what you get a product still alive when you're cooking it in the water, when you are rehydrating. And what Nadia was saying is very, very important, because the water from pasta, that is the water in which the pasta has been cooked, is actually tasty because it's got part of the starch that comes from the pasta, but also it allows you to use less fat in your recipes, because it's actually producing what we call in Italian a salsina. So basically, to do an emulsion between the starch and whatever ingredient you got in your pan, and so you don't need to add too much butter or too much olive oil. You have just the right amount, and you can help yourself in the cooking with that pasta water. Bronze dye, slow drying, so low temperature, 14% minimum protein, Italian durum wheat, which means the wheat doesn't travel, so it's very sustainable. It doesn't have to be treated with chemicals in order to avoid infestations and all of that. And the wheat comes from fields that are only 100 miles away from the factory. So in 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, the product gets milled and comes fresh to the site where we produce it the old traditional way, like my grandfather used to do. So it's a bronze dye, it's high protein, slow dried. The water comes from the town of Gragnano. And those are the main ingredients to make the pasta di Gragnano unique. That's why it's called the protected geographic indication. It's a special pasta. It's the only Italian pasta which is protected geographic indication. We produce it in over 100 shapes. We actually do 126 shapes that we today selling in Italy, in Europe, and worldwide, in the States as well. So why we need all of those shapes, we will discover it later together between me and Nadia. We will make a little game so that you'll understand why in Italy we're so complex and complicated that we have 5 different police forces. Pasta shapes. We change our government so often. We go to vote every time, and we are on the pasta. There are some reasons. For the other mysteries, we leave you to find yourself why. But the pasta, there is a particular need, and the first need, then we'll go in more detail, is the fact that being such an important part of our diet, it had to be different every day. It had to be different every day, so it didn't have to bore people. And you know, in the nature and the ideals of slow food, the production and the cooking of pasta follows seasonality. So it follows whatever it's fresh in that particular moment, in that particular region. And so that particular shape with that particular ingredient that it's ripe and nice and beautiful and tasty in that particular moment becomes a recipe and a marriage between a pairing between a pasta shape and the pasta sauce or an ingredient. The last thing I want to say, many people ask me if in the pasta there is eggs. Many people ask me if fresh pasta it's what Italian eat. And I won't answer to those two questions before I pass it on again to Nadia, and then we'll do a session together. Is that in Italy, dry pasta, it's what we Italian eat. And the fresh pasta, there's a need for fresh pasta because the filling of fresh pasta, like the tortellini, like the ravioli, it's fresh. So if the cheese or the meat or the fish that is inside the ravioli or a tortellini, it's fresh and it's raw, that needs to be fresh and you know, chilled and cooked immediately after being made. But the large majority of the pasta eaten, I would say over 90% of the pasta eaten in Italy, it's dry, and it's a completely different product from the ravioli, the tortellini. It comes from the south of Italy. The main difference is that it's made of durum wheat, which means hard wheat. The wheat that comes from a particular kind of variety of wheat that is called Triticum durum. That is only 4% of the wheat that is grown on the planet, while 96% of the wheat that is grown on the planet is Triticum aestivum, which is soft wheat or common wheat, the one you use to make pizza, cakes, biscuits, any kind of other products, and it's the white flour. From the durum wheat, you get a complex carbohydrate, which means it's a carbohydrate which has got such a low glycemic index that is comparable to lettuce or vegetables like a salad. It's very, very low because the protein that holds the pasta is very hard from the hard wheat, from durum wheat. So it doesn't allow the starch to get released in your body fast. So that's why it's a perfect food for people that have a long day and wants to eat something that makes them feel happy, healthier, and also satisfied for a longer time. There are so many recipes in Italy, so many shapes to make it interesting. And there is no other ingredient in pasta other than Gragnano water and Southern Italian durum wheat grown in the south of Italy, in Puglia, in the Campania region. That is what it's normally been produced over the last 3,000 years in those fields. Over to you, Nadia.
Okay, so now, guys, I've got the special part of this webinar. We are going to create, I'm going to show you, I'm going to take this amazing pasta. This is called trottola, okay? So it's a beautiful twisty shape. And why are we using this is because I'm going to show you, as I was saying before, a really quick recipe, which only takes the time it takes to cook the pasta. And we're making it with fresh ricotta, lemon peel, lemon juice, and a little grate of pecorino romano, and of course, a scrunch of pepper. So here we go. So I'm going to start with creating and showing you how to make this sauce. And we're going to use fresh ricotta. Okay, I'm going to put this fresh ricotta in a large bowl. And then, as I was saying before, since my pasta is almost done cooking, I'm going to use a cup of pasta water, which is got a little bit of starches in it. It's nice and hot. So this is gonna be perfect for creating a nice smooth, creamy sauce, okay? And then I'm going to add a pinch of salt. Okay, I'm mixing it all together. Then I'm going to add the peel of 1 lemon. And you need to make sure that you're only using the yellow part when you're peeling the lemon. You're not using any of the white part of the lemon because that's the bitter part. You don't want your sauce to be bitter. So now we've got the lemon peel. I'm taking half lemon and I'm squeezing the lemon juice right inside the sauce and mixing it. You see how the pasta water just created, you know, this beautiful creaminess right here, okay? And now I'm going to add a scrunch of pepper. Okay, and we're going to mix it all in. And the pasta should be on its way. Mixing it all. You see, and one of the most important ingredients that I think I've always mentioned on my platforms is that you're gonna have to feel good. You're gonna have to feel the passion. You're gonna have to be surrounded by the people that you love. If there's someone around you you don't like, you're gonna have to get rid of them, okay? Because they just will ruin the flavor of the food, okay? So here we go. My cousin Fabrizio is helping on the other end, and now the pasta is ready. We're gonna be tossing it in. Grazie, Fabrizio. So I made like, you know, about 200 grams of pasta. Right here, we got 300 grams of ricotta. You see how this pasta is so gorgeous and perfect for this? This is the type of pasta you want because it's got that twist that hugs and holds the creaminess of this sauce, okay? So I'm mixing it all together. Now what? It took us the time it took for it to you know, cook the pasta. So that was 9 minutes. And as the pasta was cooking, I'm making this sauce. So as you see, it's just gorgeous. Look at this. The pasta is its crevices, it's holding all the sauce. So now we need a little bit of pecorino, okay? Just because pecorino tastes amazing. Don't ask me, just do it. So this is how you do this. You mix it all together. I've got a little bit more pasta water just because I'm a pasta water snob. And I'm adding it in. And now for the final gorgeousness of this, we are going to put straight into this some lemon peel because it's just so much more fun. I mean, that's what it is. You put it everywhere, okay? Lemon peel, only the yellow, guys. Do not peel the same side twice because you're gonna get the white. But you see, it's just falling in like the curls of an angel because that's what it is. This is pasta from heaven. And we're going to just finish it up with another scrunch of pepper because, you know, it just tastes so good. And there you go. You know, you've got your lunch served. You know, you got a couple of slices of lemon just because you want to be extra fancy. I mean, who doesn't want to be extra fancy all the time? I mean, why not? This is what it is, right? So here we go. What? It take me like, you know, 9 minutes. Now you tell me, why do people say that slow food cannot be fast food? You know, I ask you. It's quite, it's quite gorgeous, isn't it? So now I'm going to feed it to Fabrizio because I want him to taste his crazy. Come, bring a fork. Let me just straighten my my camera here. This is Fabrizio, my cousin from Calabria, okay? So we're gonna get one that has got all the goodies.
Yes.
Here. How is it?
Oh my God.
Isn't it so nice and fresh? It's just beautiful, guys. I mean, it's
So
just,
good.
right? It's super fast. So,
Can I have another one?
no, go away. He always tries to do this. So yeah, this was literally like the most, the fastest recipe that you could think of. I love these pasta shapes. There is a few pasta shapes that you can make this with, and they are, obviously the one I showed you today is the trottole, which is this gorgeous one. I just wanted to show it to you because it's just so beautiful. Then you can make this with an eliche gigante or a tortillone, because these kind of shapes, they are meant to hold the sauce and to welcome it, in its arms and go like, come over you, I will protect you from the evil of the world. And that's what it is. So I'm done for today. In terms of cooking, I'm turning my, I think we have Pepe want to join in and want to talk to me with about the pasta shapes.
Yes, you just done what typically Italians would do in a spring day like this. You have still the last lemons from the winter, let's say, crop of lemons, and they're nice and tasty. They're becoming a little bit sweeter than the sour that you have during the winter, and the skin is beautiful. It's fantastic. It's scented, and you have in very little few minutes. You have a dish that it's healthy, it's nice. You don't have a lot of, you don't have any fat other than the ricotta. You're not cooking it other than boiling the water, and it's ready in literally a minute. This is the secret behind Italian cooking and pasta. Pasta, like we said, it's made in so many different shapes in order to give every day something different, something more interesting, and to make people not getting bored about pasta. And not getting bored means that you are also using so many different ingredients and your diet is diverse. And by having a diverse diet, you are putting in your body so many different vitamins and different ingredients that are good for you, but are also good for the planet, because you don't have to every day of the year the same ingredients that is not in season, but you follow the seasons, and following the seasons you may use different shapes. So what me and Nadia we were saying, and what Nadia has shown you with this twisted pasta, is that in Italy we have a very typical approach to pasta that is use the right shape with the right recipe. I always say beautiful Italian ladies match perfectly their shoes with their dresses. And Italian men, they don't understand why, but they like to look at women that they pair nicely shoes to their dress. The same kind of ability and skill, it's on matching shapes with recipes. But here, the science behind it, it's a little bit more simple or familiar also to people like me, being a man and cooking, and like my dad or my granddad, because shapes are there to tell you a lot. I'll ask Anna to share something we've made for while Nadia is going to eat a spoonful of pasta. That's what we call a simplified table for the correct use of Di Martino PGI Gragnano pasta shapes. And in brackets, you don't know if you will be able to read, it's called pasta for dummies. And what we mean by that is that to reveal the mystery or the science behind the matching or pairing of shapes with ingredients, we put down a table that is, very logical and thoughtful. There is a science in the matching, we were saying. And why there is a science in matching? Because first of all, when you see the shapes on the side, when you say formato in Italian, underneath there is the English word of shape, These are the 126 shapes that you can find of Di Martino pasta. The next column, so the names spaghettini, spaghetti, vermicelli, bucatini, penne, lumachine, tortiglioni, chifferi, conchiglie, penneziti, and so on. I can go on and on for 126 different names. The second column is the intensity. What I mean by intensity, what Italian means by intensity, means when you have a spoonful or a fork that is taking pasta, a mouthful of pasta, what is the kind of taste intensity? How strong is the taste of pasta that is in your mouth, or how delicate that is? And we have a scale that goes from 1 to 5. So spaghettini, which are tiny spaghetti, meaning in thickness, have got an intensity of 1. When you go to fresine, for example, that is a large linguine, a flat pasta that is very present in your mouth, on your tongue, or on your palate. So the surface contact, the quantity of pasta that gets in contact with your filling of the pasta is very big. So the intensity goes up to 4. And you can go up to 5 when you use candele. Candele is a typical shape, long like candles, that you cut in pieces and they use for the summer, for the Sunday ragu that is cooked for 4 or 5 days. It's very thick, it's very full of meat, it's very full of taste. The tomatoes gets nearly brown in big cooking for so many different hours. And so you need something that has got more or less the same kind of intensity to pair that recipe, because me and Nadia, we're good friends, and the same is the recipe with the shape, and the recipe is made by ingredients. For example, shapes that have got a kind of let's say shelled pasta that is hollow, these kind of shapes are eaten normally with a spoon. And that means that whatever ingredient is part of that recipe or sauce has to be taken with a sauce. So you can, with a spoon, you can imagine a sauce that is a little bit, let's say, looser, a little bit more liquid than someone that instead is made for penne or for something else where you use a fork. So large pieces of ingredients that you take with your fork are matched with large shapes or shapes that you eat with your fork. Then you see there is one column that says the condiment. You know, me and Nadia and our parents and grandparents and everything, they would use mainly olive oil, but in certain cases you may use butter or animal fat, because the thickness or the strength, the intensity of that shape, it's so great that it can match also a recipe made with butter or meat. At the center, we got the versatility. What it means that the product can be very versatile. What that means that you can have it long, for example, a spaghetti, and eat it with tomatoes. But if you cut it into pieces and you're not going to eat it anymore with a spoon, with a fork, then you may eat it with a spoon. And so you may use the cut spaghetti in a soup or in a bean sauce or something like that. The final column, it's a pairing. The pairing, it's different ingredients: vegetables, fish, shellfish, or meat, cheese, or legumes. And you can see which one are the right matching for the recipe. Nadia, help me to say, a typical dish of pasta is spaghetti with tomato. If you use a tomato sauce, fresh tomato sauce, what you want to do is with the spaghetti. Why are we matching it with spaghetti, for example?
Well, I think spaghetti is perfect because the way I like to do it is to, which you love too, is to do it in a way where you undercook the spaghetti by a couple of minutes, and then you get the spaghetti to cook in the tomatoes and to absorb the tomato sauce to finish its cooking in the tomato sauce. I like to make a fresh tomato sauce so that it's a little bit more hydrating for the spaghetti so that they can actually rehydrate. So I like to use, when I do that sauce, fresh tomatoes. They have a little bit of higher water content. So when I take the spaghetti out 2 or 3 minutes before they are even al dente, I actually finished its cooking, and I see it. It absorbs. It changes the flavor of the entire spaghetto. It becomes a tomato love.
And
Don't you
because
agree?
yes, of course. And because you twist it with your fork, you go around your dish or around your pan and collect the rest of the sauce.
Exactly.
The exercise of twisting helps you to
Yeah.
collect a liquid sauce.
It's like when you're sweeping the floor.
Exactly. So when having a sauce like that, where the thickness is halfway between liquid and solid, a spaghetti is perfect, because
Yes.
by twisting it, you catch it. And
Yeah.
if you are eating pasta while you twisting the pasta, you cannot go and collect different bits of pasta inside the dish, because the spaghetti nest will fall from your fork. At the same way, for example, if we're using a soup, then the ingredients are all cut into pieces. And if you look at the shapes that you would use in Italy for soup, we may also use a mixed pasta. But large part of the soups are eaten with hollow pasta that are like shells, so that you can collect with your spoon the
Yeah,
shell.
and you collect a little bit of soup with it and all the components.
Because what is the perfect pasta dish? Is the pasta dish that ends together, the sauce and the pasta. You don't want to end up with so much sauce in the pasta, in the dish after you've eaten all your pasta. You want to eat a little all together, because they're friends. They want to stay together, the pasta and the pasta sauce. You may leave a little bit for scarpetta, but that scarpetta has to be minimal. If it becomes too much, then you need to eat 200 grams of bread with it. So you're eating twice the pasta.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that would mean that the pasta shape is not the right one.
correct. You would know that you are acting like me and Nadia when the dish at the end of what you've eaten, it's finished together, the pasta and the pasta sauce. You use the spoon, you use the fork, and sometimes you use the spoon if that shape, like the spaghetti, it's cut into pieces and eaten like Italians women never wasted any food. That was something that was unholy. That was something that you could not do. That was really bad to waste food. So when they were left with small quantity of pasta inside bags that were different shapes, they used those different shapes to do pasta mista, which is mixed pasta, and to use those in soups, because by breaking them into small pieces, you were replicating the carrot, the celery, the potato, the different size of the ingredients that is in your soup was matched by the different shapes of pasta that were cooking even unevenly, because so are the vegetables inside the soup. The potato may be a little bit softer, another ingredient may be a little bit harder, and so the same is pasta. That makes it interesting. So using different shapes, it's the way to use seasonal products and to celebrate the Italian way of eating pasta, which is biodiversity, and use the fantasy of the people that, like Nadia and me, that love pasta and want to do something different every day with it. So you don't want to do, you want to do for things you love only one way. You want to use it in any possible way, and any possible creative and fantastic way to use it, using fantasy, but more than everything, because we here with Slow Food, and we part of Slow Food, we're a strategic partner of Slow Food. I sit on the board with Carlene, and we share the same values. It's very important that we use seasonal products that are close to you, so that they're ripe, they're fresh, they're not being treated, they're not being used too much chemicals, or no chemical at all if you use, of course, organic, but more than everything that has not traveled too much. The pasta is very dense, so it doesn't have any great impact on on the CO2 emission. Just to give you an idea, then I pass it on to Nadia. To make 1 kilogram of red meat, you need 37 kilograms of wheat or cereals to be given to the animal. To make 1 kilogram of pasta, you need 1 kilogram of wheat and no water, because dry pasta is made of durum wheat, and durum wheat doesn't need irrigation, doesn't need water, doesn't need a consumption of water. It actually grows better, and it's of better quality in dry and isolated areas. So desertic wheat from the southeast of Italy, that is the driest part of Italy, Apulia, and the southeast of Naples, of Campania, are the best durum wheat that you can use to make pasta.
That's fantastic. I'm hungry again.
So use the to catch the sauce around the dish. Use the spoon to catch the sauce with the shape, so that you have all together. Use mixed pasta. Don't throw away your pasta. Put it all together in a soup, or even bake it if you want. And then if you left with some pasta, Nadia, I've seen many times she does it. If you left with some pasta, you may stir and fry the day after inside the pan, and it's even nicer, especially if you use pasta with beans, pasta with lentils, and that's such a great source of fibers and protein. I think we got 12 minutes for 10 minutes, 12 minutes for question and answer. I want to ask Nadia if she wants to add anything for the recipes and the shapes, or any of her, let's say, memories or tradition.
To me, one of the most important things that I found out that people are really interested, that follow me on the different channels and they see my recipes, they're like, one of the most common things they mention is, I can't believe it's this easy. And another thing is, don't you get bored of pasta? How can you eat pasta every day? So as Giuseppe was saying, pasta is so versatile that you can make it a complete nutritious dish on its own, because you can add so many different type of food groups to it that you can actually have a complete meal with full nutrition. And you can make it with seafood, you can make it with vegetables, you can add dairy, you can have meat to it, you can have legumes, you can literally have a full complete meal. And there's so many different pasta shapes that you can never get bored of making pasta. It's just so fun. There's so many different ways. It's as infinite combination as the infinite amount of foods that exist on planet Earth, right? So you can make it and you can get creative. And one of the things that I like to do with my channel is to show the diversity of ingredients with the diversity of pasta shapes, and to show how many different ways you can make pasta. And that's one of my missions, because pasta is our staples in our Italian diet. So, and that is the reason, because it can be made in any way you want. So that's it. Now we can go to Q&A.
Amazing. I think we're all hungry. Every one of us on this channel, seeing you eat, just talking about pasta, it's really fun. So a couple of questions here. If we could talk about alcohol pairing and how you pick which wine or even whiskey to pair with which pastas.
That's something that it's interesting. Obviously, it's one part, it's me that I make pasta. Then Nadia adds the rest of the recipe, and then we together we can share a glass of wine. For example, if you do linguine with vongole, then with the seafood, then obviously a great white would be good, Fiano, but even a dry Chardonnay or a dry Sauvignon would be great. If you do a fantastic ragu, then you want to have a nice full-bodied red, and it can be a Cabernet Franc, a Cabernet Sauvignon, a very nice and rounded. But for example, for the dish that Nadia has made today, you can also have a Prosecco. You also have the acidity of the lemon. It's perfectly paired with the Prosecco glass, so it's going to be easy. And again, the recipe is so brilliant. We say it's a graffio. That means it's something.
Exactly.
It's something you can do with nothing, and it costs you very little. You can do it in 3 minutes, but it's so good.
So to me, like, you know, talking about alcohol and the alcohol usage also in cooking, and to me is also like, what kind of dish are you having, and whether or not you want it to be, whether you want your dish to be the main character or the wine to be the main character, you know, how strong is the dish, how strong are the ingredients? And because every wine, there's so many great wines, and you need to, the wines are used to add flavor and to complement flavor. So you want to complement with, depending upon how strong the intensity of your dish, talking about intensity, when the pasta for dummies, we could also put something together maybe in the future where we're looking at the type of wine and the intensity of wine and what kind of intensity of wine you want with what kind of pasta dish. Because it's very interesting, some pasta dish require them to be the main character of the show. They don't want competition. So you want to use something that is not overpowering. And sometimes you want something overpowering because, you know, the main character is a little weak. So, you know, it really depends, but it'll be a very interesting concept that we should actually talk about in another webinar.
And also Italians drink wine be like food. You know, my grandfather, my father never had any meals, lunch or dinner, without a glass of wine, not a bottle or 2 bottles, 3 bottles, a glass of wine.
A glass.
Yeah, and the glass of wine was part of the diet because that was food. You know, that was fruit that was not wasted. It was turned into something with the alcohol that was wine and was part of your diet. You had a dish of pasta and a glass of red wine or a white wine, depending what you were eating.
Yes, I agree.
Wonderful, thank you. And a similar question about vegetables. And, you know, I think your chart here is going to get very long about all these best pairings, but can you give some suggestions or guidelines about how to, which kind of vegetables to bring into your pasta dishes?
I mean, on one hand, the important thing of the vegetables, like Anna, you obviously agree with me, is seasonal, because they're much tastier, they're better, they're not been done. And we said it many times, but we never tired to repeat it. But the vegetables themselves are important, but also the way those vegetables are cut or cooked, you know, because if you cut them small, they may get inside the shell. And so if you have like a minced different, like a cianfotta that is made of peppers and aubergines and zucchini and potatoes, they all cut very finely, then a pasta shell would be perfect to pick it up. But if you, example, using a big ingredient, like if you do zucchini and you cut it with a large piece of zucchini, then penne would be perfect, because the moment you pick your penne, you pick also the zucchini and you eat it together. So it's important, the ingredient, it's important. So obviously, there are many shapes that are were born for that recipe. If you use the little cubes, you know, like we call it tubetti or ditali or ditalini, that are made to match, for example, certain kinds of legumes like beans, red beans.
Lentils.
Yes, exactly. I'll show you one shape that is called the lumachine, and that's a special shape, a traditional shape, but this was invented and this particular one was designed for slow food, but also because of our love for legumes. There is one particular event that slow food does in Italy called leguminosa. That means it's something to do with the pulses, you know, like beans, chickpeas, lentils from all over the world that are a sure and a healthy source of protein. This is a little lumache. It's like a snail. It's like a snail. It's like a little, oops, hold on. It's like a little snail. And it's, you know, it's done in a shape, you see, and this has got a hole. You see the hole?
Mm-hmm.
That hole is a perfect hole to hold a lentil. So each lentil gets inside that particular hole of the lumachine, and you can have lumachine with lentils, and all the lentils will fit inside the lumachine. So when you pick it up with your spoon, all the lentils will disappear because they all go inside the lumachine. And you find, where are the lentils? This is, and the lentils are in the lumachine. But we do a special dish for that particular time that is called lumachine with nduja. So you boil the lumachine, you boil the lentils with celery and garlic. You add a little bit of olive oil, and when they're nice and cooked, you put the pasta inside the soup so that you don't have to boil some water. The pasta cooks inside the lentil soup, and then you can add 2-3 spoons of nduja, depending how spicy you want. Nduja being that spicy Calabrese sausage. And that's fantastic because it's the lentils is the iron and hearty taste of lentils and nduja. But also we do it in the seafront pasta bar. We're going to open in Chelsea Market soon, hopefully. Yesterday I was given my E2 investor visa with national interest exemption, so I'm coming to US very soon. We do a recipe in our pasta bar that is done with lentils, lenticchie with the lumachine and clams. So instead of having always your linguine with clams, you may have lumachine that reminds you of shells, and they go perfect with lentils and seafood.
That sounds delightful.
I had no idea there's a special snail slow food pasta. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Carlene loves it.
Amazing. So 2 questions before we run out of time here. There's a lot of questions in the chat, but maybe 2 about boiling in water around pasta. So one is all types of dried spaghetti, you boil them the same time? Or like, how do you know when it's done? How do you know when to remove the pasta? And then kind of a related question is, some people rinse cooked pasta with cold water to stop the cooking. Is that ever a good idea, especially for cold pasta salad? Can you talk about water boiling in pasta?
I tell you the technical part, and obviously Nadia puts the love, the passion, and the fantasy around it. The technicality behind the cooking of pasta, normally on a bag of pasta, it says the time. But for you, the best way to do it is like what Nadia said at the beginning, to see it al dente. You cut it with your tooth, and you look on the spaghetti whether there is still a very small, like less than 0.5 millimeter white line that is what in Italy we call the soul of pasta. So if the soul is still alive, you have it al dente. Normally a spaghetti, it's 1.7 millimeters, and that's one secret I'll tell you, 1.7 millimeters, and it cooks for 8 minutes. You do 7 + 1. Then you have vermicelli that is 1.9 millimeters, is 9 + 1. So it's 10 minutes, and so on. One thing about linguine is oval shaped. So when you have an oval shape, the wings of the oval, when you do mantecare, so when you basically are stirring it, you lose like 0.5 millimeters of the sides of the wings. That is extra starch. So if you use it, for example, for a linguine, you have a much better emulsion. So taste it all the time. See if you got your white soul, and you know that the pasta is al dente. Over to you, Nadia.
Yes, exactly. That's what I always say, right? So you have to, so first of all, digesting starts with you being focused. I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but if you're distracted or you're worried and you're eating and you're not even looking at the food, sometimes you can even get stomach aches. That's what I've noticed. Like it's all part of it, the whole experience. You can't just cook and let it do its own thing. You have to be on it. You have to like love it. You gotta be with it. It's all part of like smelling it, tasting it. The stomach, your digestive enzymes are starting to work, even just smelling the food, and it all helps in the digestion of the pasta dish you're having. Now, in terms of different times, and I don't even look at the time. I know that some people like time themselves. I've done it so many times. You obviously get an intuition, but you know when you have to grab and you gotta taste it. You got to be, you know, talking to your pasta. You gotta be, you know, intuitive about it and feel it. And you gotta taste it. You can't just toss the pasta when the time is up. What if something happened? What if, like, you know, the pasta was different, the water was not as hot, or that pasta was a little more humid or a little more dry? I don't know. You never know. But you are the master of your pasta. No one else.
I love that. And do you ever rinse it with water?
No.
Okay.
That was like a straight no.
You don't add olive oil in the boiling water. That's another no-no.
Oh.
Because the olive oil breaks the gluten, and you have an enormous amount of starch. The first 4 or 5 minutes, depending on the shape, maximum 6, are rehydrating the pasta. The next 2-3 minutes are cooking the pasta. So like Nadia does many times all the time, when you boil it for 3, 4, 5 minutes, 6 minutes in the water, and then you finish cooking inside your pan by adding pasta water, you are cooking it in your complete control. So you know exactly what is happening. And you can try it with a tongue, you know, and try each a little piece and then see whether that is done or not.
So no olive oil, just salt and water.
Yeah.
And taste the soul. I love that, the soul of pasta. I hadn't heard that before. So it's a nice way to bring the slow food element into it.
Of course.
Christina here is begging for help. She's lactose intolerant. She's asking what cream substitutes can she use? Nadia, I think everyone is ready to cook your dish tonight. So do you have any suggestions for a substitute for that beautiful?
So actually, you know, in the US more than in Italy, but there's a lot of different alternatives that I have come across. And there was, I think there's a good cashew ricotta cheese. There's a good almond ricotta cheese that I've tasted. I don't want to promote brands, but I'm sure you guys can go to Whole Foods or to your local grocery store and look for, you know, nut cheeses, nut ricottas, things like that you can use for alternatives. I like the cashew myself.
That sounds really nice.
One thing that you can do as well is if you use the flowers of the cauliflowers and you boil it only 2-3 minutes, and then you liquidize it, you may use it instead of the ricotta, and you have a vegan.
Oh yes, I want to try that. I like it.
Okay.
You know, we live on the same parallel. I did the same recipe Sunday, but with the cauliflowers.
Ooh, okay, I'm on it.
And instead of using the pepper, I use the chili. So it's just, you know, a slightly twisted pasta queen version.
You have to film it and post it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you both so much. We are out of time. This has been such a fun session. A couple of people have asked if we will share the recording, and yes, we definitely will on the Slow Food USA website, and we'll send it out to everyone who registered on Zoom. Next week, we have these 4 amazing chefs on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, all looking at one pasta shape with different interpretations. So that will be really fun. And then on May 21st, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern, we're talking about the soul of macaroni and cheese. So that will also be fun. But I wanted to thank you both so much. Thank you, Di Martino company. This pasta is really fun. I love the design also. And just thank you both for your time today and for joining us with Slow Food Live.
Thank you so much, Anna. And thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you all of the Slow Food. And every time we choose food, it's always very important for our planet. So choose food with the reason, with the knowledge, and with the respect.
Perfect. Agreed. Parole sante.
Grazie.
Ciao, ciao,
Ciao,
ciao.
ciao. Bye, everyone.